Hey everyone, thanks for joining us here today at Book Blather. If you're new here, I'm Dave, this is Olive, and we talk about books of all types to help spread the joy of reading. So today we're doing what we've been promising to do for a couple months now, which is tell you about our mega book haul. This is now the new record. This is now the biggest book haul that we've ever done. And I don't know if it was because it was so daunting to film this video, but we've been arguing about it for this is actually from a few months ago now. We've been arguing about it, and I was like, we got to do the video, and I was like, well, before you know it, we're doing Garb August, and we got to do those videos every week, and I was like, we got to do the video. You said we were going to do the video, and then it's Halloween, and we got to do our Halloween stuff every week, and Olive's like, come on, we told everybody we're going to do this book haul video. We got to do it. I'm like, I know, but we got all these other books to do and everything. Anyway, she finally put her foot down because she's sick and tired of it, right? Olive says we make promises, we got to film the video. So here we are, a few months late, finally filming this massive book haul that we did. So if you've been around a while, you know that towards the end of the summer, we go to what's called the Pequot Library Book Fair. This is in Southport, Connecticut. It is pretty close to us. It's one of the biggest book fairs in New England. And so I tried to get some footage. I try to do this every time, but here you can see where shows you basically the different parts of the fair. There's the auditorium where they have unusual stuff and rare books, and then they have these two tents. The small tent, which actually has a lot of music in it too, records, DVDs, but also other things we're not too interested in, like self-help and stuff. But then the main tent is where everything that we're interested in, everything from science to science fiction and general fiction, everything. So turns out the footage we tried to get of the inside, we were using one of those little cameras that you wear, and it got all messed up. It was upside down, I don't know what happened. It came out all junky. So so what I'm going to try to do is insert a little bit of footage from last year's, because it looks the same every year. And this just gives you a little idea of what it's like on the inside. So here we are going into the you enter through the small tent here, and as you can see, there are plenty of books in there, but like I said, they're kind of probably what I would characterize as less popular categories. But up on the right hand side here, you can see that a lot of what this tent is the other forms of media. They have boxes and boxes of DVDs and old records and things like that. But now we're coming up, as you pass through this archway, we're coming into the large tent, and I cut out a lot of this footage because I realized I had done the footage, been moving too quickly, and I was giving myself a headache when I was watching it back, so I don't want to give you a headache. But this will give you a quick idea. You can see it goes way back, and it's broken into these general categories, but otherwise there's there's a science fiction, otherwise there's no organization, so you just have to hunt. And as you can see, there's tables and tables just lined with books. So we always come home with a bunch of books from there, but this year was the record. So we fasten your seat. We got books of all type. Strap in, because it's going to take a little while. You may need a snack, but we'll go as quick as we can. Most of these books we actually don't know anything about, so we're not going to drone on about them for forever. We're just going to show you guys the stuff. So we will jump right in, and we'll start with, first we got some science fiction fantasy anthologies, which we always like. So we collect, there's these ones that are put out were by Gardner Dozois, I think you pronounce it, and those are I think the best of science fiction of the year, and we have a few of those. Kind of collect those whenever we see them out there. So we saw another one this year, and this was the 14th annual collection. And this one was, I don't know what year the 14th was, but I think 2000 and so these are 1996 stories, it looks like. So collection, bunch of short science fiction stories in here, so we picked this up to go along with the rest of the collection. As you saw there, we also collect the year's best fantasy and horror. We don't have as many of those, but same thing, we pick them up when we see them. And so this is the 17th annual collection. And this one is, what year is this? Oh, I just had it. This is years, so this is best stories from 2003. So, obviously we haven't read a lot of these, but here and there we'll pick one of them up and read a couple stories out of it. So we just like to collect them, like everything else. In that, look at this, which just fell out. There's an old article, Pagan Sue on Emblem for Graves. That came out of the Fantasy and Horror Science Fiction. So you never know what you're going to find Fantasy and Horror collection. You never know what you're going to find in these used books. Okay, and then what next one we found, we were pretty excited to find this. This is the Science Fiction Hall of Fame. And so this is volume 2A. And then we also found volume 2B. I guess not that surprising. I'm sure they came from the same person. So we were very excited to find these because we actually, years ago, found volume 1 out in the wild at one of these fairs. And that one was edited by Robert Silverberg. These are edited by Ben Bova. And what these Science Fiction Hall of Fame books were is, the other one was short stories. These are novellas. And these are basically pre-Nebula stories. In one by Silverberg, that was pre-Nebula short science fiction stories, and this one was pre-Nebula novellas. And the idea was to give, before the Nebula Awards came out, give stories that never had the chance to win the award to put them in here. So, this volume A, the novellas that are in this one are Call Me Joe by Paul Anderson, Who Goes There by John Campbell, Nerves by Lester Del Rey, Universe by Robert Heinlein, The Marching Morons by C.M. Kornbluth, Vintage Season by Kuttner and Moore, Then There Were None by Eric Frank Russell, The Ballad of Lost Smell by Cordwainer Smith, Baby is Three by Theodore Sturgeon, The Time Machine by H.G. Wells, and With Folded Hands by Jack Williamson. So as you can tell, some great authors and great stories. Volume 2, which is also novellas, was The Martian Way by Isaac Asimov, Earthman Come Home by James Blish, Rogue Moon by Algis Burdris, is that how you pronounce it? The Spectre General by Theodore Cogswell, The Machine Stops by E.M. Forster, The Midas Plague by Frederick Pohl, The Witches of Caris by James Schmitz, E for Effort by T.L. Sherrod, In Hiding by William Shiras, The Big Front Yard by Clifford D. Samac, and The Moon Moth by Jack Vance. So some well-known authors there, and stories that would have been worthy of the Nebula Award had they been around at the time. Okay, and then the last science fiction anthology we got was this one, The Best Time Travel Stories of the 20th Century. And these are cool. We have a few of these. These are, we have one that's the best alternate history stories, and what was the other one? The best military science fiction stories, I think, of the 20th century. So we just like these. We think these anthologies of where there's a singular theme to the science fiction stories are pretty cool. So we love time travel stories. So we were pretty excited to see this one. Okay, and then so we got a bunch more science fiction. We got some vintage science fiction things, but let me finish this box before we get to that. We decided we go to a lot of book fairs and used bookstores, try to put together collections of things, very inexpensively, and we so often see so many Penguins. And we like the Penguin volumes, and we decided from now on, we always see them, we're not going to get every one, but we decided from now on, when we see ones that are, you need a pick-me-up, Olive? We decided from now on, when we see ones that are in perfect condition, we're going to get them and start to put together a nice collection of Penguin classics. Or, if we find Penguin Deluxes, those will be just fine too. But so that's what we did. We found a few this time that were in great condition. Near perfect condition. Sophocles, the 3 Theban plays. Beautiful cover on this one. This is Antigone, Oedipus the King, and Oedipus at Colonus. Then we picked up the Penguin classic of Seize the Day by Saul Bellow. Then we picked up The Last of the Mohicans by James Fenimore Cooper. Then we picked up The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and Other Tales of Terror by Robert Louis Stevenson. We got a bunch of good ones here. Just a couple more. We got Selected Poems by Longfellow. And We picked up, yeah, so this is volume one of, so this is the Divine Comedy, volume one. This is the Inferno. If you've seen some of our recent videos, you know we recently read the Inferno in a different edition, and we did a video on that. We actually wrote a story that was recently published based on Dante's Inferno. And so we need to read the whole Divine Comedy, and so we figured we would pick up these Penguin versions by Mark. We'll start over, read volume one again by Mark Musa. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but I think this is a pretty popular set, the Penguin set. So I gotta make some room so we can keep going here. Okay, so then we picked up a bunch of vintage stuff. Some pretty vintage, some not so vintage, but let's just start going through them. So this is the, sometimes it's hard to get these exactly, so I'll hold them back here, and then I'll try to give you a close-up that still centers, because some of these covers are really cool. But this is a vintage copy of H.G. Wells' The First Men in the Moon. Galactic Derelict by Andre Norton. I have no idea what this is. The Benikis of Yam by Thomas Burnett Swan. We were kind of going crazy when we saw these vintage sci-fi stuff or sci-fi fantasy sort of stuff, and we were just grabbing stuff. So they're so cheap. Okay, the Sandcats of Ryle by Robert E. Vardaman. That's a pretty cool cover. It almost looks like a Frank Frazetta cover. I wonder if it is. Anyway, Steel Magic by Andre Norton. So most of these we know absolutely nothing about. So as we go through all these old paperbacks, if you've read any of these, I mean, let us know if something sucks and is not worth reading, or if something's great and you definitely recommend us reading it. Or I mean, just let us know what kind of time you had with any of these books if you've experienced them yourself. This is The Visitors by Clifford D. Simak. We've got To Stand Beneath the Sun. This one looks pretty good. This is some sort of Amazonian Viking women pulling an astronaut out of the water. So that looks like a nice blend of genres there. I don't know how that can not be awesome just based on the cover. Here we have a nice old copy of The Hawks of Arcturus by Cecil Snyder III. Look at that cover. That has got to be incredible. Okay, and then we picked up, what's next? Don't peter out on me. We got some more to get here through, Olive. Who Needs Enemies by Alan Dean Foster. Children of Tomorrow by A.E. Van Voigt. I don't know if this is part of a series. I think it might be, but I'm not sure. If you know, let us know. Here we have, I've heard of this series. This is Triplanetary, which is the first one in the Lensman series by E.E. Doc Smith. I've heard somebody talk about this. I don't remember who, but yeah, let us know if you know much about this one. I think it's a pretty popular old series. A Touch of Strange by Theodore Sturgeon. Great vintage cover there. And The Ship Who Sang by Anne McCaffrey. I keep getting like a little climactic tone in my voice as though that's the last one. It's not even close to the last one. So here we have another Andre Norton, Merlin's Mirror. This looks pretty cool. Looks like another blend of, looks like a Merlin blended into a science fiction novel. Check out this cover, The Last of Danu's Children by Alison Rush. Awesome. I'm such a sucker for these great covers. Another Andre Norton. There must have been an Andre Norton fan that donated books to this book fair. Dragon Magic. There was a lot more Anne McCaffrey books there. There was a ton that I really regret getting. You make mistakes, you know, when you can only carry so many books, and I passed up on all the Anne McCaffrey stuff. I only got like one or two, and that was a mistake. I did the same thing. There was a bunch of Star Trek books there that I passed on, and wish I had to do over again. But, you know, you live and you learn. Check this one out. Pilgrimage, The Book of the People by Zena Henderson. This looks awesome. If anybody's read this, we definitely would love to hear what you thought about this. This is feared as witches and demons. They possess superhuman powers. They could read minds, free objects from gravity, fly through space. They lived alone and outcast in Cougar Canyon. They were the people. Okay, let's see. We're gonna keep making space there. We're gonna knock them over. All right, stay with us, guys. If this ends up being too long, we'll just cut the video in half, but let's see how it goes here. The Wind Wails of Ishmael by Philip Jose Farmer. Supermind by A.E. Van Voigt. The Tar I'm Krang by Alan D. Foster. I have no idea if I butchered that or not. Free Zone by Charles Platt. "10,000 Light Years from Home" by James Tiptree Jr. This is actually a collection of stories. That's why it's so thick. It's very uncharacteristically thick for one of these old science fictions. It's like 15 stories, I think, in there. Okay, this is... Oh, check out this cover. This is Road Marks by Roger Zelazny. Okay. Then we got some horrors. Some of these we've heard of, some of them we haven't, but here is Live Girls by Ray Garton. Here we've got, look at this one, Charles L. Grant, For Fear of the Night. Look at that cover. I don't know if you can quite see the cover with the camera. There's glare on that, but it's very, very cool. Let's see. We got Precious Blood by Pat Graverson, or Graverson. Couple Graham Mastersons. Night Plague. Burial. And Mirror. Pretty creepy one. Creepy cover on that one. Okay, and then we'll get a couple more fantasy here. We got Troll Fell. Legend tells of a secret kingdom and a hoard of gold. Sounds like a rollicking fantasy. We found a copy of Tolkien's The Silmarillion. Andre Norton and Phyllis Miller, House of Shadows. The Treasure of Wonder What by Bill Starr. This one looks pretty cool. And okay, and then we found some that are like a couple that are part of series, but we just pick. I mean, you guys know our style. We get, even if we see stuff that's only part of a series, we just pick it up because eventually, sooner or later, we run into the other ones of that in the wild, and we keep putting series together that way. So when they're really cheap, like these paperbacks were like so cheap. I think they were $1 each, these paperbacks, if I remember correctly. So we just pick them up. So this one is so this is a Planet Builder series. We found number 2, Night of Ghosts and Lightning. This is by Robin Tallis. I feel like I've heard people talk about this Planet Builder series, but let us know if you know anything about it. This was volume 5, Zero Sum Games. And volume 6, Night of Two New Moons. We found this, I think, is in part of a series. Yeah, volume 2. So this is The Caves of Clydor by Douglas Hill. It's apparently volume 2 in the Colesec trilogy. Look pretty wicked from the cover, so. And this is The Windhover Tapes by Warren Norwood. This is, I guess, from Planet of Flowers series. Is that what it's called? And this is the final book in the series. I don't know how many there are. I think like 5. But it looked interesting, so we picked it up, and we'll see if we ever come across the others. Then we had, what else did we have? Okay, so we also found I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. So we've heard, a lot of people talking about this book. We also found an old copy of Fight Club by Chuck. I never pronounce it right. Somebody finally told me how to pronounce this right. Chuck Palahniuk? I don't know. I've always pronounced it wrong. I used to pronounce it Chuck Palahniuk, which I think is close, but not quite right. But anyway, this is a very old copy. I didn't go look. I forgot to go look this up. I meant to, but this was a first printing of this. What version is this? First Owl edition in 1997. So Fight Club first came out in 1996. So I was not sure if this was the first paperback printing of this or not. It's definitely the first printing of this version for sure. So we love Fight Club, and so we wanted to pick this up. Just I don't know how hard this copy is to find or not, but we're fans of Chuck Palahniuk. We have a bunch of his books. We haven't read them all, but we've read some. And then we found this we've wanted to read for a while, Perfume, The Story of Murder by Patrick Susskind. And we might read this one soon, because we've heard a lot about this. It's apparently very disturbing, and so we were excited to see this because we've been thinking about picking that up for a while. And we also read, so we haven't read much for a while, but we do read some YA. We have some YA stuff, and we've enjoyed it at times. And so I had heard of this series previously. This is so we found the first 2 books. This is Smoke and Bone by Lanny Taylor. And Days of Blood and Starlight. Very cool covers. There is a third book in this series called Days, or... So this is Daughters of Smoke and Bone, Days of Blood and Starlight, and what is it? Dreams of Gods and Monsters is the last one, which we did not find there, but... So, okay, we're getting there, guys. We're almost done. Okay. A few more random ones. We actually showed these couple. We actually showed because these were potentials for Garb August. That's how long it's been since we should have done this video. But this was So we already showed these. I think we found these at that fair, and they were potentials for Garb August. But The Symbol by Alva Bessie. This is about it's apparently a scorching novel that's pretty salacious about a Hollywood star. This is The Silencers. This is one of those men's adventure. This is from the Matt Helm series. By Donald Hamilton. And then this one, which we also showed this before, New York After Dark, which is this is like a I think like a almost like a guidebook for the salacious underbelly of New York, but like decades ago, like the 70s, 60s, or 70s or something. So, 1966 this was put out. So, and also, I believe we got this one at the fair too, the Star Trek The Motion Picture. This is a novelization of the Star Trek movie, or a Star Trek movie. And so, okay, and then some other random ones that we found there was, we also found a copy of The Falconer by John Cheever or Keever, probably Cheever, I don't know. But anyway, so this is supposedly a well-known, respected piece of literature. And we found this old copy of John Steinbeck's Sweet Thursday. We found this cute little copy of Tom Sawyer. This has two supplemental Tom Sawyer stories in it. Tom Sawyer Abroad and Tom Sawyer Detective. Stories by Mark Twain. Has some very unfortunate language on the back, as you might expect, but we won't talk about that. Okay, then this is The Virtue of Selfishness by Ayn Rand. Sort of a little philosophical treatise. Ayn Rand wrote some famous novels, The Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged. But this is she wrote some, which are philosophical novels, but she wrote some, little philosophical treatises too, I guess you would say. We picked up Saturday by Ian McEwan. We have not read Ian McEwan yet, but we have picked up a couple of his books that we've seen out in the wild for cheap, including Atonement, which is high on our list to read. So we know he's very highly respected, and assuming we're going to enjoy his books, so we figured why not. This one just looked really interesting. This was Z. It's a novel of Zelda Fitzgerald, Scott Fitzgerald's wife. I don't know if we'll get around to reading that one or not, but let us know if you have, and it's worth reading. Oh, so this one, we'll talk about that one last. That's one we're most excited about. So we found this, Ad Infinitum. This is a biography of Latin. Always been really interested in Latin. Haven't read very much about it. And so, yeah, we didn't know about this book, but it looked really interesting to us when we saw it out there in the wild. We picked this. Okay, this is didn't really pick up many. This is an old sci-fi. We don't mostly we just stuck with the paperbacks because the sci-fis are the hardbacks are a couple bucks more, but this looks just really cool. Arafel Saga by C.J. I don't know how to pronounce that. Cherry. I don't know how to pronounce that author's name, but we read something else by that author. Wait, it's a female author, I think, right? Anyway, this looked very cool. This was sort of like a Celtic-based fantasy, and like dealing with the disappearance of the elves from society, and so it sounded pretty neat. I don't know if I held the cover up so you guys could see it well there, but anyway, we just thought it sounded pretty cool, and we picked up. Oh, geez. Picked up this copy of Ovid's. Pile's gonna fall here. Picked up this copy of Ovid's Metamorphosis. So we're actually looking for a different version of Metamorphosis for somebody else. But we saw this and it was in perfect condition, and we have not yet read this, so we picked it up for ourselves. Okay, and the last one we found that we were very excited about was we found this. I'm going to try to show this. This is a very old hardcover of Dickens Christmas books and Christmas stories. I'm going to try to do this so you guys can see it. This is a very old. I don't know if you can see this. There are deckled pages there. It's kind of gold gilded on the top, and it has these deckled pages in the middle. Some of these pages are actually still uncut. I think I hate to do it, but I'll probably cut them with a razor blade because I did want to read this. But as you can see, it's got a lot of these old. Hold that back. Pictures. And this book. This is one of those. This is why I love hunting in the wild, because I have not actually been able to identify this book. Let me just show you a little bit of this without ruining the book. I did not know that Charles Dickens wrote so many Christmas stories. Let me just pull this. Oh, here you go. Here, I'll try my best to put this in. If you can't see here, if it doesn't come out right, I'll do like a little overhead view at the end. But this shows all the basically Christmas books, which are Christmas novellas and Christmas stories. So I had no idea that Dickens wrote so many Christmas stories. There's I just knew the Christmas Carol, to be honest with you. But it turns out there's 5 novellas in here by Charles Dickens, and then there's about a dozen Christmas short stories. And apparently the Christmas Carol is based actually on one of these short stories. I don't even know if that short story is in here. It might not be, but there's another short story that he wrote first that the Christmas Carol is based on. And this was one of those ones that's like such a great find, because it's just like, it's a beautiful book, and I can't even identify this book. I've gone online and can't find it, so I don't know when it's from, and I don't know anything about it really. I have no idea how much it's worth, nothing. But I was very, very excited to find this. And what we are thinking of doing, we're pretty sure we're going to do. We don't know if anybody will watch them, but we want to read these stories. We wanted to read some Dickens Christmas stuff. We've got a novel based on Dickens that we're going to be buddy reading with Dia over at Novel Idea. And so we wanted to read some of these stories. So what we're thinking of doing is just doing some readings, maybe some fireside Christmas story readings from this Dickens book. And we want to read this stuff anyway, so I figured maybe we do it that way. And if anybody's interested in watching them, they'll watch them. So anyway, we haven't really seen much of that sort of thing, so we figured maybe we would give it a try. So very excited to find this book. So that is it. That is I have no idea how long we've been going. Thanks so much if you stuck with us. Right, Olive? Olive, you need another pick-me-up, man? Here. You need another pick-me-up? Alright, so did you have anything else to say about the books that we got? You didn't really help me at all during this one. Do you have anything else to say about any of these books? No? Alright. Well, like I said, a lot of books here. We'd love to hear any comments that you guys have about any of these or about our anticipated Dickens readings. But if you don't have anything substantive, you can always leave Olive a puppy emoji, because she always likes to see those, right? But as always, thanks so much for spending your time with us. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you very soon, but in the meantime, take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll see you next time.